Down by the old mill stream, where I first met you.
The Fabulous Lipitones is a play that embodies the elements that made up most of my developmental life. It has to do with innocence. It has to do with old-style precision and music and craft. And the idea that we have to grow out of what we are sometimes. I grew up in London, Ohio, a population of about 6,000 people, a couple of traffic lights. It was very much like a Norman Rockwellian town. I have very fond memories of growing up there. I felt a lot of freedom. We'd take our bikes out, 8 or 9 years old. We could ride out until sunset. Everyone knew each other that well. But I'm not someone who tends to look at things through rose-colored glasses. Innocence always tends to have a dark side. I mean, we were the only Jewish family in town. My father, being a town doctor, gathered a lot of respect. But once in a while, you would be made aware of being different. And the feeling of being the other always stayed with me. That's always informed my work. There was one kid who was a bit of an anti-Semite, but at one point we paid someone to beat him up. Which really isn't true, but I just wanted to fulfill the stereotype. The reason I was drawn to comedy, and I'm saying this because I've had a lot of therapy, is that the only time I could truly connect with my dad was when I made him laugh. I would sit on the end of his bed, and I would make up a dirty limerick for him. And I think my father started to worry at that point that I may not have a career as a doctor. They made me promise them that I would go to college and then go to law school. I told them that I would do what they wanted, and that was a total lie. When I got out of college, went down to LA and just started writing scripts. I got an episode of a show called Taxi, and I wrote an episode in the final year of the show, and that changed my career. I found the time on The Cosby Show to be an amazing apprenticeship to a comedic genius. His mind is dazzling. I learned at his knee for 6 years.
Hi, dear.
How was school?
School, dear. I brought home 2 children that may or may not be ours.
I think comedy becomes a great tool for dismantling prejudice. The Cosby Show was the very first time that an African-American family was portrayed as a successful family.
Come on.
We got to tell the stories we wanted to tell.
Dr. Huxtable.
We got to take chances that a normal show wouldn't get to take. We became bulletproof by being a hit show right away. We wrote the show that made us laugh. And we wrote the show that spoke to us.
I am your father. I brought you in this world, and I'll take you out.
I had met Mark St. Germain because I'd hired him on The Cosby Show to write episodes. We've stayed in touch. We've written a couple things together. And Mark began calling me about 1.5 years ago about an idea based on a barbershop quartet. And Mark and I both have this soft spot for Midwestern stories and innocence, the theme always from my youth.
I haven't done a comedy in a while, and I haven't worked with John in a while. And it's a lie to call it work. It's really sitting down and laughing hard for 2-3 hours and then getting back the next day and doing it again.
One of the really beneficial aspects of getting to do the Fabulous Lipitones here in Connecticut is to prepare it potentially for a move off Broadway. This is a chance to tweak the show, find out where audiences love it or don't love it, and keep improving the play to kind of, let's say, land a suitor. Being at the helm of a play, you gotta always be nervous. If you're not nervous, then you should really rethink what it is you do. When it starts to have its own wings, and you feel like you had nothing to do with it, then you know that it has its life. But an audience is always the final arbiter.
There you go. You go straight down, enjoy the show.
In our story, the 4 Lipitones have been competing at a regional championship where one of them dies of a heart attack.
Andy, it was a privilege making music with you. Andy, you're dead and we're done.
For some reason, I saw this as funny and thought it would be a comedy about trying to find a new member and someone who could fit into the group and someone who somehow was different than them.
One of the men is on the phone with his garage. We hear a mechanic in the background singing, and he has the perfect range. They convince the manager of the garage to let this guy come and audition for the group.
Bob, if he'd like to be the new lead of the national champion Fabulous Lipitones.
And the next scene is he shows up, and he's a Sikh from India, which really embodies the other in America today. Unfairly the other.
Because of his kind, the rest of us have to spend hours in line at airports waiting to get our shoes x-rayed.
I was hoping the singing could be a pleasant diversion, but I think you need to find someone more like yourselves. And that should not be too difficult.
I'm programmed to write things to make people laugh. I'm not going to turn what I do into any sort of lofty pursuit. But comedy also has the power to disarm. It can take what might be scary and it can soften it. It can make it much more palatable. Laughter then becomes this great tool.
Was that even possible?
It might be a little ambitious to say stories change the world, but I would say that the right stories give the world a chance to change.
Yeah!
It's a game of inches, changing how we think, and I would like to be part of it.